two words you should know. Benny's Beer Hall. That's right, Benny's Beer Hall is coming soon. Located in downtown Millington, Benny's Beer Hall is the newest spot to grab a cold craft beer, watch the big game, and hang with friends. Benny's Beer Hall will feature 16 beers on tap using the Nordic Tap draft system. TVs throughout the beer hall guarantee you'll be watching the game that you want. And if you're hungry, Benny's will feature some of the area's top food trucks and local carry-out cuisine. Benny's Beer Hall, coming this fall in downtown Millington. We'll see you at Benny's. Growth. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back to the D-Suite Nation Show. As with me, always, is Ray Ascencio.
How you doing?
Glad to be back. Took a week off because of COVID and the COVID sickness. So good.
I owe you an apology. Dan kind of got on my case for not acknowledging him last week. Now, I wanted to. I just didn't know. Didn't know if you wanted your business thrown out there, so okay. I wasn't sure. I think I made fun of you a couple times last week. Me and Chris did, but all in fun. You know us. But yeah. Dan is back. I don't know if you want to say he looks healthy. He looks like Dan. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a good thing.
Okay, yeah. That's a good thing. But Dan's back. He's healthy. And hopefully your lessons learned, meathead. Lesson learned.
We won't get into all that.
All right.
All right, this week we are honored to have a pretty big name in the Flint sports world. You may know him from his days with the Flint Generals. Long-time hockey player, and now Grand Blanc head coach, Mr. Jim Duhart.
Morning.
Welcome. Very honored. I'm very honored to have you here.
Thank you. Great
when
to be here.
When I seen you pull up, I didn't know if it was Joey Kosar or Jim Duhart. I was like, oh shit.
No, Joey carries a bigger presence than I do.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Just, getting ready for the hockey season. And
congratulations
thank you.
On the new head coaching position at Grand Blanc High School.
Thank you.
Bobcat.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's, we got our work ahead of us, but there's some good families there. And, the athletic director wants to get it going and get it back to where it used to be. And so we'll put my best foot forward and see what happens. Man.
You still play?
Yeah. I skate every Sunday. Our team's been together forever. And then I skate with the Red Wings alumni when I can during the year. And, so I see some of those guys, Kosher and Darren McCarty comes out every now and then, and the Miller brothers are always out there and stuff. So a lot of great stories with those guys, great times. And, it just keeps you in shape. Have fun.
That's cool. We got a lot of topics we're going to get into. Dan and I have some good topics. But I want to start off on, let us know where you're from. Where are you from originally?
From Ottawa, Ontario. I'm an old guy.
You don't look old.
I don't feel too bad right now, so we'll knock on wood.
I say that a lot about people, but usually I'm just saying just compliment. But no, he literally does not look like. He literally looks 32.
Oh, I wish. I'd still be playing.
Age as well.
Yeah, he ages well.
I wish. Thank you.
What's the secret? What's the fountain of youth, man? What's the secret?
I don't know. I still skate. I'm living on the lake, so I get the boat life. I go to the gym probably 5 days a week, and I just, I try and keep the stress out. I just have fun. You only got one life. You might as well enjoy it.
What was it like growing up in Ottawa?
It was awesome at the times. I mean, I'm thankful we didn't have cell phones and stuff like that back in the day because that'd probably be a different story. But it was great. It was we lived outside. We lived playing hockey 12 months a year, whether it was on the streets or, in the rinks. And, it was awesome. I spent a lot of time in Montreal. My uncle played for the Montreal Canadiens for 18 years. So I spent a lot of weekends there, got to grow up watching those guys, Larry Robinson and the Guy Lafleurs and Steve Schutz, and when they were winning all those Stanley Cups. And
how many Stanley Cups did you say your father?
My uncle.
Your uncle. How
Larry
many
Robinson.
Stanley Cups did he win?
He got his 10th one last year with St. Louis. Yeah, so he's...
Damn.
I think he's second all time.
10 Stanley Cups.
10 Stanley Cups.
10 Stanley Cups, yeah.
And I'm assuming this is as a player and as a coach or front office.
Player and coach.
And coach.
Yep. He had 7 with the player. With Montreal, and then he was coaching New Jersey Devils for 2, and then he got his last one with St. Louis.
Nice.
So. Now the Canadiens have 24 all-time Stanley Cups, I believe.
24 or 25, yep.
Okay, there's only one out of the 4 pro sports teams, there's only one pro team that has more championships than Montreal. Do you guys know who that team is?
I'd probably have to guess like the Celtics.
Nope.
No. Oh man,
One more championships.
I'm drawing a blank. I've heard this before too, and I'm drawing a blank.
Can't be a football team.
No.
Only the New York Yankees have more championships. That puts in perspective how many cups the Canadians won. Only the New York Yankees have more titles than them. That puts in perspective how much they've won in the last 120 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Now, here's something cool. You got 20 seconds to tell us who the original 6 are. You better not let me down. Who's the original 6? Name all 6 of them. You have 20 seconds.
Okay, so we got Detroit, Toronto,
Yep.
Pittsburgh.
Oh.
No. Detroit, Toronto,
Come on, Dan.
Montreal,
Yep.
Vancouver.
Lord have mercy.
No.
Okay. Tim Thomas, somebody you went
Boston
to high school
Bruins.
with.
I
is
knew
gonna
it was
be,
another
yeah, Tim,
Boston
I'm
Bruins.
sorry. If you're watching, I'm very sorry. Detroit, Chicago,
Chicago. That was the other
Boston,
one.
the New York Rangers, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Three American teams, 3 Canadian teams, right?
Yep. The way that I remember them, though, I section them into groups of 2. Like Detroit and Chicago are close to each other. The Rangers and the Bruins are close. Montreal and Toronto, I don't know how close they are. That's just the way that I always remember it.
4 hours. 3
4
and a half,
hours?
3.5, 4 hours. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay, Ontario, Ottawa. Let's get back to Ottawa. I have a question. It's in my phone, but now that it's fresh on my mind, I'm very curious. When the Senators joined NHL in 1992.
Yep.
Okay, now you being from Ottawa
Yep.
and being a lifelong Canadiens fan, and still are,
Yep.
when they arrived in the NHL, I mean, was there like, damn, who am I going to cheer for? Who's going to be my number one? Not at all?
Not at all. The only time I ever thought about cheering for a different team besides Montreal was my grandfather loved Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay.
So he was a big Toronto fan. So every time I'd sit with and we'd watch hockey on Saturday nights, Hockey Night in Canada, he was pushing for Toronto, and I love my grandfather. So
Because I'm a Flint kid, born and raised in Flint. And I'm a Detroit Bad Boys diehard. I love the Bad Boys the way you love the Canadians, okay?
Yep.
But if Flint got an NBA team next year, let's say the Flint Gangsters or whatever the name is, what would I do?
your loyalty will always lead to one place.
Okay.
Always lead to
It's a
one
good
place.
answer.
So was it because your uncle played for the Canadians? Is that why they ended up being your favorite team? Is that why you followed them as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, that helps. that helps when you're there seeing these guys practice. And, I was skating on the Forum when I was like 5 and 6 years old. So, it kind of helps seeing these guys every weekend or every other weekend. It was, I'm going to go for Montreal.
Now, okay, I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about with hockey, but here comes a question where you can kind of tell I don't know. What does Habs mean? What is it? What is a Hab? What does that mean?
Les Habitants. So it's just short for Habs. Like when you say the Wings, the Habs. It's the same thing.
But what's a Hab?
What's a habitant?
Habitant.
What is that?
Lives. Habitants live in Montreal.
Oh,
Part of
okay.
Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Like inhabitants.
Yeah.
Like it's someone who
Okay.
inhabits a city.
Yeah, I always knew they called them the Habs. I just never knew what it meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in French, yep.
How do you say that in French again?
Les Habitants.
Le Habitant.
There you go. with the Italian version of it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't okay.
Les Habitants.
That's an Italian thing.
The French Italian right there.
Dan, what do you think of the fighting? You had a fighting question for him?
Oh, okay. So in a lot of the major sports nowadays, there's a lot of emphasis on like player safety, rule improvements, things like that, right? Like in basketball, we all know basketball is like, it's become much lighter with the physicality nature of basketball. In football, we have, where you can hit the quarterback and how you can hit this and defenseless receiver and all that kind of stuff, right? So in hockey seems to be one of those sports where like they don't really make a lot of changes in that area, right? So talk about fighting in hockey. What is I think I know the answer to this, but like the general purpose of fighting in hockey and how that is still allowed to kind of be in the game today.
Well, I mean, it's not as much as it was when I grew up, because when I grew up, you had like 6 heavyweights that couldn't really skate. You knew when they went on the ice, then that other opposing coach knew. And they go out, and, it's just a way they go. It was a way of, protecting the skill players back in the day, right? It was a way of intimidation at times. And then if you're having a bad night, there's been a lot of nights where, if I wasn't quite on it, my hands were terrible or I was making stupid plays, let's dummy it up and see what happens. Wake up a little bit and, spark your team, and at least I'm going to help my team one way or another. And but the most important part was, you look at back in the days of the Wings or the Broad Street Bullies, you touched one of their premier guys. You touched Yzerman back in the day. You had Probert and Kosher come in and say goodnight. And it just flipped the switch of, and then the whole game changes, and the next thing you know, the Wings are blowing people out, or you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So, do I think it's needed still in hockey? Absolutely. I think they've gotten rid of some of it, and I think that's too bad, because you're seeing dumb stuff now with the skill players just swinging, or these other guys just swinging sticks and elbows and running guys and kneeing guys, and you lose your key guys. Next thing you know, your team goes on a losing streak and you can't get it back.
Okay. Now, I know you're a Montreal Canadiens person. Do you like the Red Wings? Is that one of your favorite teams, or did you like them back in the Yzerman days?
I did. I liked watching them.
Like Steve the Colorado-Detroit rivalry, like during those times.
It was great.
How did it feel?
But I was kind of torn because
of Patrick Waugh
and Claude Lemieux. I remember I remember watching and skating with those guys. I remember one of the first times Patrick Waugh went out on the ice with the Montreal Canadiens, I was there. I actually took shots on him after practice. So it's like, and I was a younger kid, so it was like I was kind of torn. Yzerman's lived in my hometown, so I knew him and met him a couple of times, but knew his brothers. So I kind of had that loyalty towards that, but at the same point, then I see these guys from Montreal, and I just thought it was fun hockey. I didn't, it was. They wouldn't fly nowadays, obviously, but look at the people they brought in. Look at the people who weren't necessarily hockey fans that saw some of this stuff
right here,
and all of a sudden now they're diehards.
I was on the bandwagon. I'm one of them people.
See, but that's what that's what the sports needs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So let's flip it and say, okay, let's talk about basketball. I don't like basketball. I don't watch basketball. Too much diving. Too much. If someone throws an elbow, they fall to the ground like they're flipping fish out of water and flopping. Come on, add fighting to that. Let's say, okay, so let's say, someone goes after, I won't say one guy's name, so any other basketball player back in the day, right? What's going to happen? Let's say you have a 3-on-3 brawl. Cool. The fans all of a sudden are more excited. Now all of a sudden you've got standing room only if you didn't before, and now they, who cares? They get suspended for a game. All right, whatever. There's 90 games in a season. Who cares?
And that does happen. It's happened before, and it still does happen. It doesn't happen as much, but especially back in the 90s, early 2000s. There's a lot of fights and brawls that occur on the court, but the difference is that, like you said, that they'll get suspended. They don't just get like a penalty during the game and can come back in. They're out of that game and then usually suspended for like 3 to 10 games after that.
So why not do 10 minutes? Right? Why not do 10 minutes? You telling me some dum-dum's going to go out there and he sees LeBron James running down the court? Listen, I'll break his jaw. And then I got to sit out 10 minutes? Cool, whatever.
You would love that, wouldn't you, if somebody broke LeBron James' jaw?
Oh, I would.
He hates LeBron.
I do not hate LeBron James. We're not going to get into that.
Now, there's a fight. Now, there's a particular fight that I remember back in the early 90s. I don't know if it was the Bulldogs or the Generals. I can't remember. But it was a talk of the town. It was when Jacques Mayotte went to the Motor City Mechanics after he played with us.
Yep.
And everybody was talking about him and Jason Simon.
Yep.
And I was there when Mayotte, and I'm not disrespecting Mayotte because I was a fan of his and I still am. This is not a disrespectful thing. It was on a Sunday afternoon. I remember the day. It was in March on a Sunday afternoon when the Mechanics came to town. And when those two were on the ice at the same time, you could hear the buzz in the air. And Simon, I'm giving him the decision. that particular fight that I'm talking about, I don't know how many times they fought after that, but the fight that I seen, he beat the hell out of Mayotte. Were you on the team then?
Yep.
What'd you think, man? What was that like? What was that electricity like? That was awesome.
You know, in our
that was standing room only at the IMA that day.
Our pregame skates, you could just feel it.
Yeah.
Chief was just on edge, and Chief's an amazing guy. Jock's a great guy. You know, obviously I think Chief was better, stronger. You know, he had a bigger career. They're both amazing guys. So,
yeah, they are.
But you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, that was pretty
cool.
And
it was funny because you know when it's going to happen, and you're just like, you're not really focusing on the game itself. You're just waiting for this to happen. You know what I mean? So the first couple of shifts go through, and they're not on the ice, and you're just kind of like, let's hurry up and get these guys out here. Like, let's get it started. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's fun. It's fun to be a part of. It's fun to watch. Hats off to those guys, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, there were some legitimate heavyweights in my day.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You know, different than the heavyweights now. And you just got to have a lot of respect for them.
I do. Now, there's another fight, NHL fight, that brewed up just like that. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But Bob Probert and Troy Crowder, do you remember that feud?
Yep. Crowder, I think, was with Vancouver at the time.
This is when he was a Devil, New Jersey Devils.
Oh,
Crowder.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember it because this is the first time I've talked about it. Probably, I don't know if I've ever really talked about this. But, God, I'm trying not to swear on this. I fucking hated Troy Crowder. I fucking hated that guy. That big, tall, no, back then I hated him. I don't hate him now, but I'm just talking about back then. I'm trying to relive 30 years. He cheap shotted the shit out of Bob Probert at the Joe Louis Arena the first time. Start hitting him from behind, and he broke it up, whatever, and he whatever. And then at New Jersey, was it the Meadowlands Arena? Is that where they played?
Yeah.
At the Meadowlands Arena, they were squaring off again. Probert accidentally stepped on a stick, lost his balance, suffered a big cut. But that's part of fighting, you know. Yeah. We'll give Crowder a decision. Then there was the big build-up, man, at the Joe Louis Arena.
Yeah.
They were on the ice at the same time. Long story short, he hit Troy Crowder so hard that he spun, looked like he was breakdancing on the ice. He beat the hell out of him.
He knocked his hearing aid out. Troy Crowder wore a hearing aid.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he knocked his hearing aid out.
That was that was awesome. That was awesome. I love Probert. Probert's one of my favorite athletes ever. Man.
Probert was one of those guys that you just watch, and he would take 5, 6. Him and Kosher, they'd both take 5, 6 punches just to set up to just start throwing bombs. And when they threw bombs, it was like getting hit by a brick. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, you think you're winning and you think you're doing a great job, and all of a sudden you get hit by like 5 rights, and you're like, where am I? What happened?
I sure as hell wouldn't want to get hit by either of them. I saw not Troy Crowder, Kosar. He hit a guy so hard that the guy, hit the back of his head just slammed on the ice. It looked like he killed him, man.
Talk about one of the most difficult things to do in sports is like fight on a pair of ice skates on an ice rink.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a technique to where you're putting your hands and how you're grabbing a jersey and how you're,
absolutely,
you know, all that little stuff that, you know, like when I grew up, I didn't know that. I just kind of went with a Probert Kosher mentality and just throw bombs. And then, you know, you learn from guys like Simon or Mayotte or, you know, guys like that, and you learn the little tricks of the trades, and you're like, I wish I would have known that 5 years ago. Would have saved me a few beatings probably, but, you know, I mean, it's just, there's always a technique, and I knew a lot of tough guys, but they couldn't stand up very well. So as soon as you get pulled a little bit, they'd fall down. You're like, really? That's it?
Who are some other notable NHL tough guys from back in the day, maybe that like some people might not know about?
Not know about?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about.
Like we know Ty Domi, Probert, Crowder, you know, Stu Grimson. We know the big names, but like who's like an underrated tough guy?
You know, like there was remember Matthew Barnaby?
Yes.
With Buffalo?
Yes.
You know, he was tough. He was tough. He was a tough guy. Problem is he's not a heavyweight. And he wouldn't back down. See, that's the thing. The mentality back in the day is you don't back down. You're going, man, this is going to hurt, but you're going to do it. Because that's what the team needed, or that's what you wanted, or you had to protect yourself or someone else, so you just did it. You know, so Matthew Barnaby, he was pretty tough. You know, he was a guy that he would fight everybody, but when he fought guys his own weight and size, he'd smoke them. you know. And I remember coaching against him when I was coaching in CompuWare. We were in Toronto, and he was coaching a team, and it was just like, I usually yell at the other coaches sometimes, so I was like, I don't know if I'd do that with this one. But I don't know. I mean, he was a good guy, so it was fun. But cool. Yeah, you know, even a guy like Cicerelli, Dino,
yeah,
he was dirty, man. He was with
Dino
his elbows
Cicerelli.
and his sticks and everything else. You know, those are the guys that you're like, man, I don't want to stand in front of the net with this guy. You know what I mean? But or Scott Stevens.
I remember Scott. You know, I remember that name. Yep.
He almost ended a few careers, but yeah. But you know, being a dad now, I'll say I'm glad the game that is now. But watching hockey, it's not the same.
Do they still allow fighting in the NHL?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, most teams have maybe one tough guy. You know, maybe.
It doesn't happen to as much, but it still happens.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I've always said this. Anybody who thinks that Kentucky Derby horse racing shit is the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
A good fight in the NHL or a shootout in the NHL. That's watching a shootout is the most exciting thing in sports. Like at the Big House when the Maple Leafs played the Red Wings.
Yep.
4 or 5 years ago
Yep.
on New Year's Day.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's fun.
Awesome. Were you there? Were you at the game?
No, I wasn't at that one. But those are fun to watch. Those are, you know, and that's, you practice those things. So it's kind of fun. You know, you practice your shootouts. Then all the guys after practice would practice fighting, just the techniques and stuff. Obviously not hitting guys,
not
but
beat the hell.
Unless your teammate pisses you off.
Kind of like a sparring session.
Yeah, and unless your teammate pisses you off, you know, whether they did something stupid at the bar that night or the night before, or you know, or they said something stupid, then there would be a fight at practice, and you know, and then you moved on your merry way, and you were great friends and still teammates and battle for each other. But yeah, I mean, it's part of growing up.
Yeah, Dan, what was the championship you said you were a part of that you witnessed?
Well, we'll get to that, but it was in 96, right, with the Flint Generals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our first cup.
So before we talk about that championship, tell us about your career in hockey, how you got started, and then how you ended up with the Generals.
Yeah, I mean, I played in Ottawa, and then New Jersey Devils sent me to Flint because Flint was a farm team when I turned 21. And, you know, I ended up here in Flint, played here for 8 years out of my 16 years pro.
Yeah.
Captain here for probably 6 of the years, I would guess.
Yeah. Probably one of Flint's most popular players.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of, you know, I did everything, scored goals, did a lot of fighting, you know, killed penalties, power play, all that stuff. But it was different back in the day, because back in the day, like I look at the juniors now and the Firebirds or the teams before that were here after us original Generals left, it's never been the same because we cared about our community.
Yeah.
We were always in the community. We were always doing stuff, and I liked the people. I liked the kids, you know, so that's why I think they drew to us. Plus, it's a blue-collar town. They love the brawls, the bench-clearing brawls. And even some of the fans jumping on the ice during these brawls, like, you morons. But it was funny, but that's just how Flint was. That was, you know, like, when I came here as a visitor, it was just like, man, you got to deal with the players and you got to deal with the fans. And I played here, and they still hated me for a while, but, it was part of it. But it was fun. I enjoyed my time here in Flint. And, you know, it's of all the places I played, it's one of the best.
Yeah, I was going to say, even with the Firebirds now here, like I haven't seen the city of Flint into or support the game of hockey like we did when the Flint Generals were here. Like the IMA was sold out or packed like every single home game. It was just the support for that team was unreal, and I was a part of that, and it was such a fun time in my life. Being able to get, you know, see you guys on the ice and, you know, get behind a team like that. And then in 96, when you guys won the championship, I was telling Ray, like, that's the only live sporting, like, championship moment I've ever witnessed.
Right.
And I can still remember it like it was yesterday. The building was just electric, like all those home games. And then the last home game when you guys won it, and the crowd just erupted, and it was just a madhouse in there. And it was one of the most awesome things I've ever got to experience live. So
yeah, the fans were. I mean, it made it fun to play there. It was just, if you fought at 200 pounds, you thought you were 260 when you played in Flint. Like, it was just the energy behind all the fans, and it didn't matter if it was guys, girls, kids, babies. It didn't matter. Like, it was just everyone was screaming. And, I remember, like, limousines pulling up with people getting out to go to the game, and you're like, it's Joe Louis Arena? Like, this is awesome. It was awesome.
A big deal in Flint.
It was a big deal.
The Generals were a big deal.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I retired in 2006. Yeah, I retired in 2006. I remember the last couple of years it was still the Generals before I retired, and it wasn't the same. They were getting away from the old school hockey, and, they had some coaches come in that didn't like that style, and the fans kind of went away, And then these other teams came in, and they never really took to the community like us older guys did. Mm-hmm. We still got some of us that live here in this community that so I think the fans noticed that, and it brought more guys in that wanted to play here and be a part of it. And it was hats off to the community, and that started from days of the Bob Piranis that were here before that. I mean, that was getting big then, and
back when it was the Flint Bulldogs.
Bulldogs or the original Generals.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, our coach Peter Horchak played when they won the championship here in Flint.
I remember, Jim Edgerton. I remember him being one of the original Generals. Now, when Dan was telling me about that championship a few days ago, it had me thinking, I'm like, have I ever been to a championship? And what I thought of was the only championship I ever seen, it was 1988. The Flint Spirits lost in the Turner Cup Finals. I can't remember who they lost to. But it was a team from out of state, but they won the Turner Cup Finals on our home ice in 88. And at that time, I was at, me and my buddy Dan Pomano were at every Flint Spirits game. They had John Cullen, who ended up being an all-star for the Penguins, Pittsburgh Penguins, which I thought was cool, man. Mario Chitteroni played for him. I believe Ray LeBlanc was there.
Yep.
Ron Stern. Keith Gretzky was on the team. McSorley, the brother.
Kevin.
Chris McSorley. Who was the Marty? That was the one that played with Wayne
LA
Gretzky?
Kings, yep.
Okay, then it was Chris. Chris McSorley played with us. I think Mike Richter was already gone at this time. Richter had played a couple years before. But, yeah, that was
they had some huge names out here.
Yeah, I remember all those names. Mario Chitteroni was a jet. God, he was a jet. I used to love watch. I don't know what you call it when they're on a solo, when they're by themselves.
The breakaway.
Breakaway. Yeah. But, God, he was fast. And back at those times, Jim, Pirani's used to be connected to Rain Check Lounge, the restaurant.
Yep.
And their Strombolis, I'm not shitting you, Dan. Those, if you got a large Stromboli, that thing was damn near the size of this table. It could feed 35 people.
Yep.
And that was my championship memory, watching the Spirits. They lost in the Turner Cup. I can't remember who they lost to, but they lost. But kind of heartbreaking. But
that's what kind of makes it special to me, is when people are like, you're one of the most, famous Generals of all time or something. I mean, that's some huge names you mentioned. And for them to, people to put that under my name is it's kind of special.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a big deal, and I still like it. I love it. I see people all the time, and they're like, hey, I remember when, or, and stuff like that.
I think it's because, you said it, that Flint is a blue-collar town, right?
Yep.
And you, as a player, were a blue-collar player, right?
Yep.
You were tough as nails, right? Yep. Gritty, worked hard on the ice. And I think that's why so many people are just a fan of you, because you on that team, you personified that on that Generals team. Lot of people, you were a lot of people's favorite player.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I had to. I may not have been the most talented player at the times, but yeah, I worked hard. I did whatever it took to win, and help the team out any way I can. And but I never took it that I was bigger than the city I was in. So anybody that wanted to talk, we talked, we hung out,
Yeah.
Did I share a few beers with a whole bunch of fans at Rain Check after games? Yeah. I mean, it was just, it was our job, and it was fun.
How cool is that? That's cool.
It was very cool. My family was really involved a lot with the booster club and stuff like that. So there was many times we've been we're at dinners with the team, after game skates, on the ice, and all these different events. And the players were extremely friendly, and nobody on the team for the most part, was like, you're bothersome, right?
Yep.
Like you're bothering them. Everybody was welcoming and friendly and really supportive and thankful for the support from the fans and the booster club and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, nobody had those egos, I think, on those teams.
No. And I'll tell you a funny story. It was one of the first cars I pulled over, because I work for the sheriff's department.
Yep.
So it was one of the very first cars I pulled over when I switched from Shiawassee County Sheriff's Department to here to Genesee County. So I pulled this car over and I go walking up and, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And the guy, I'm like, hey, sir, how are you? And he looks and he's like, Duhart? Dewey? Is that you? Dewey, that's you. He goes, I got your jersey still hanging on my basement. Watch, I'll show you. And he pulls out his phone and he pulls a picture of the basement. And there's still my jersey down there. And I'm like, and this is only like 3 years ago. And I look at the picture. I'm like, best way to get out of a ticket. See you. Have a good day.
You want to hear a funny Jim Duhart jersey story? You want to hear a funny story? Sure. This is a true story. Dan, I'm going to let you tell a story because I'll go off on a tangent. It'll take forever. Tell them about Sharkies, that kid that almost killed, and tell them whose jersey was behind me when this happened. This would have went viral. Tell them, because I don't want to go off on a tangent.
So we did an episode back in, I think it was 2020, right?
Yeah.
And I had been begging Ray to do a show, because back before we had an office, we used to rotate. We used to go to different bars and set up and do a show at a bar. So I was like begging Ray for a long time to let us do a show at Sharkies, right? Because it's visually like the best bar to do a show in. So we're like,
the best owner. Jerry's the best.
Yeah. Yes,
by far the best.
So we finally go in there, and he finally agrees, and he's like, fine. He's like, but set us up in a back room. I don't want to be bothered by anyone, because it's like Ray's biggest fear when we're doing at these bars. It's just some knucklehead coming up and like approaching us.
I don't like crowds.
Right?
I don't like to be around a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah.
So we go in, and I'm like scoping out the area, and I'm like, the game room is just nothing's going to work. There's not a spot that works, right? The banquet room's booked up, so I'm like, Ray's going to be pissed, but it is what it is. We're going to set up right here on that wall, just on the other side of the game room entrance, right?
Yeah, by the fireplace.
By the fireplace. Yep. And at the time, like we set up the table's got logos on it. It's real pretty. And at the time, on the wall was your jersey was hanging up on the wall. Yeah. So we set up, and we're doing the show, about halfway through the show, and everything's good. And, I'm trying to keep an eye out. And this guy walked in, and we've told this story on the show probably. This is probably the third or fourth time we told this story. But so guy walks in, and as you know, it's like the front door is there.
Yeah.
And then right next to the front door is a door to go into the game room, right? Back to the game room. So guy walks in, turns the corner, and sees us set up there like doing a show, and he's just curious, and he stops, and he just stops, and he stares at Ray and Fred, who was our guest at the time. And Ray, I'm like, don't do it. In my head, I'm like, don't do it, Ray. Don't do it, Ray. Don't do it. And Ray just stops and like, what the fuck what are you looking at?
It bothered me because like I was sitting there and Fred was sitting there. He got close enough to where, Fred had to turn around just a little peek. That pissed me off. And your jersey was right there.
Yeah.
So this would have been I would have kicked this kid. He was a kid, probably 28, 30, skinny, 130 pounds. I would have kicked him in his head 700 times, and your jersey would have been right there. Everybody in the world would have seen it. It would have been right in front of the Jim Duhart jersey.
I would have been proud. I would have liked it.
I've got a couple topics on here. I put it on my phone.
Okay, let's put a sequence. He's not texting.
Right.
His notes are on there. He's got a guilty feeling about it.
I do. So I got a guilty conscience. I don't want people to think I'm texting. I just have stuff on my phone here. Let me see. Okay, here's an interesting one here. Back in 2006, I was watching the World Baseball Classic where the countries were playing the different countries. Now, Canada, their whole lineup batted left-handed.
Yep.
And what the announcer said was the reason why, I think all of them but one. There might have been one right-handed batter, but all the rest of 8 of them were left-handed batters.
Yeah.
And the announcer said that in a lot of areas in Canada, when kids are growing up, most of the hockey sticks are left-handed sticks.
Yep.
And that's why, a lot of these guys played hockey when they were younger. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you knew when I came to the States to play that you knew who was Canadian and knew who was American, mostly because of the way they shot. I mean, there was a couple of different guys that obviously shot right, but for the most part, every Canadian shot left and every American shot right. And it was just, I don't know why. Like most of us, 99% of us wrote right-handed, threw right-handed, but we all shot left.
Now,
I don't.
by nature, I'm
It's
also
a shortage of right-handed sticks in Canada.
Yes, it wasn't allowed.
now by nature. Me and my father, we're also like that. We throw right and we add left.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool because I forgot who the Canadian guys are on there. I think is Larry Walker? Is he Canadian?
Yep.
Larry Walker.
Montreal Expos.
God, who's that short, stumpy looking guy? Power hitter.
Tim Raines.
No, he's a white guy.
What team?
Is Tim Raines Canadian?
I'm not sure. I'm just thinking of the old Montreal days, like Tim Raines and Andre Dawson and all those guys.
It might have been Matt Stairs. He was built like John Kruk.
Yeah.
I think it was Matt Stairs. He was another guy on that team, lefty, short, built like John Kruk, kind of, but he was a lefty power hitter. He either struck out or he hit a bomb every time he's up there. Are you a baseball fan at all? Toronto Blue Jays or no?
I love playing baseball. I just can't watch it. I loved it.
Now, I have some Ontario connections of my own.
Oh, okay.
I've been to Canada. I like Canada. I mean, I haven't been there in a long time,
Right.
But I've always liked Canada. Let me see. Toronto. We had our 6th grade trip to Toronto, Ontario. I had the time of my life there.
Yep.
Now that was in '89 when we had our 6th grade trip. The time that I was there, when we were up on the CN Tower, the Sky Dome was like half built.
Yep.
They were still building it because they were still playing at Exhibition Stadium at the time. Have you ever heard of the Canusa games?
Yeah.
Yep. Hamilton, Ontario. So I've been there a dozen times maybe.
Yep.
I've got some friends. I'm still friends with some people from Hamilton, Ontario. So I got a little Ontario connection there.
Yeah, my son played in the Canusa games. I coached one of the hockey things. That it was actually in Flint though at the time, but my son went there a couple of times, and it's a great thing. It still goes on. It's neat. It's good to be a part of, and like you said, everyone, a lot of them stay connected and keep in touch with each other and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a big deal.
You ever play in the Canusas?
No. Did I ever play?
Yeah.
In Canusa, it was all sports. It was soccer.
It's the Olympics.
It was basically the Olympics.
It's between Hamilton and Flint.
Yeah.
And every year, it's here, and the next year it's there, here, there. We had Flint had we must have had a 50-year drought where we didn't win the overall competition in Hamilton. That we snapped that 10 years ago, whatever. But we won some sports, but overall we never won in Canada up until maybe 10 years ago.
Well, look at the population difference though too. Big difference in the numbers of who they can pick from and who we pick from. So
fun question. Okay, when I was playing in Canusas when I was a kid, if you can guess on the first guess what sport I played, I'll do 10 push-ups right now, but you only get one guess. What sport did I play when I played Canusas as a kid?
Soccer.
Tennis.
Oh, I knew it was some special
something what?
Special sport.
I don't.
Usually the guys that grow up with the hair and the tattoos and stuff, you played a special sport. Hey, in 2021, we can't judge.
I know. Another. Okay. Oh, I remember. Now you also like the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, since I was 3 years old. I don't know why. I don't know how I was drawn to it, but that's one of my bucket list things is to go to a Dallas game. Cool. I told my wife that now that I turned 50, I get a chance to go to Dallas and see a game, and I don't know why. People always ask me from Ottawa, why do you like Dallas? I have no idea.
The stadium is amazing.
That's what I hear.
I've got a chance to go. I went to Cotton Bowl a few years back. It was Wisconsin and Western Michigan played in a Cotton Bowl there.
Yeah.
And then
you were at that game?
I was at that game, yeah.
I remember watching that game.
It was
Yeah, that was the Western went undefeated that year and lost by a touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know you were there.
Cool. They say the screen is almost way bigger than this building.
It's distracting. It really is. When the seats I had, you're watching the game, you find yourself watching the screen more than the field.
Really?
It's a badass stadium. I give them that. I hate the Cowboys, always have, always will. But the stadium is really nice. I did a stadium tour there as well.
Yeah.
So you tour the whole stadium. And then going to a game there, that screen is so fucking big. You find yourself watching the screen Like, I had to keep reminding myself, I'm like, man, I'm watching this game on TV on the screen when it's right in front of my face on the field, right? Because it shows so much, it shows closer, better angles, you know, kind of stuff. So, but it is a nice stadium, really nice stadium.
Do you have some favorite Dallas Cowboys from back in the day?
Randy White.
Randy White,
I don't know why.
number 54.
54.
D tackle.
I loved Randy White.
Okay, so you go back to those days.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going back to the old days. I mean, obviously the three horsemen with Aikman, Emmett Smith, and Michael Irving, yes. But before that, me was Ed Too Tall Jones and Randy White.
Tall Jones, yep.
And Randy White, Danny White was quarterback.
Was Harvey Martin, was he a Cowboy?
I'm not sure. And then to me, the presence of Tom Landry.
And you said Danny White. That was their quarterback at the time.
That was quarterback.
Yeah, Tom
11.
Landry. Yep.
Tom Landry with that hat on, just roaming. Never screamed that much. Never really. You don't see him talking much, but when he did, everyone stopped. It was just I don't know. That was just to me was the ultimate. Wow.
Randy White.
Randy White. Listen, Randy White was a beast. He may not have been the most talented, but he worked his ass off. He was just nonstop, and it was funny. Like, you know, guys get injuries, and he would never miss out. And I'll tell you a story about injuries because the game's changed. I was in Flint. I got in a fight, and it was right in front of our net. And I one-punched the kid, and he drops. Well, when he dropped, he took my feet out. My helmet was off, you know, and I had the flowing hair and the long goatee and everything. And my head hit the crossbar. When I got taken out, when I knocked him out. So I kind of sit up for a minute, I get off the ice, or I'm on the ice, and fight's over, obviously, and I get off the guy, and there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what I did to this kid. And the ref looks at me and is like, oh, shit. I'm like, what? And come to find out, I had cut the artery in my forehead, and the blood was spurting out, like literally straight out. And they're like, you need to go. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I skate off, head towards the bench, and I'm just looking, and the whole bench is like, holy shit. So we go back into the locker room. The trainer's freaking out. So our owner, Dr. Shikari at the time, he comes down. He's like, well, we're going to have to stitch it. And there was a nurse in the stands, I guess. And she's like, it's serious injury. I came down to help. So they're going to stitch me up, and they don't freeze me. Doc's like, okay, we're going to freeze you. No, let's go. I got to get back out and play. So my wife comes walking into the training room because she's freaking out. And I just sit up and look at her in the middle of, there's still needles in my forehead. And I look, I'm like, get the fuck out. I got to hurry up and get back out on the ice. Sewed up the arteries, sewed up the stitches on the outside, put the helmet higher up because I had such a goose egg, the helmet wouldn't fit. And I finished the game. You couldn't do that nowadays.
Damn.
They wouldn't allow you to
It wouldn't. Nowadays, I mean, you know how many times I've seen guys get knocked out in fights? They sit in the penalty box for 5 minutes where they have no idea where they're at. Skate over to the bench, kind of. Hit the smelling salts about 3 times. Good to go. Go ahead. Go back out, fight. Those were the days.
What's your opinion on the Russian Five, man? I was a big fan of them. Did you like the Russian Five, the Red Wings?
I loved watching them. Back in the day, and this was the mentality of the league back in the day. If you were a college kid or I lost headphones. If you were a college kid or European, we'd beat the shit out of you. Because half the time we couldn't catch you. Or you're trying to do all this fancy stuff. It's like, no, forget it. And we just like two-hand you, like butt end you, elbow you, slash you, do whatever we could. Because we knew back in the day they didn't really fight that much, you know. So they were amazing to watch, but I hated playing against them sometimes. I don't know, it was just the mentality. It was just different back in then. He's like dumbfounded. That's what we did. I mean, that's what we did. I mean, we just did crazy stuff back in the day because we did whatever it took to win, to intimidate. I remember we were in Utica, New York, and we had a line brawl. So there's 3 of us sitting in the penalty box. It was me, Kevin Kerr, and Ken Spangler.
Oh, yeah.
So the 3 of us are sitting in the penalty box. And the fans, you know, back in the day, like there was no real glass separating players and fans and stuff like that. So I remember these fans were yelling at us, and we're like, whatever. Like, shut up, your team sucks, whatever. Next thing you know, we got doused with beer, like just soaked with beer. And I looked at Spangler, and I'm like, what the fuck? Wait, where's Kersey? Where's Kersey? Kersey had climbed the gas and he was chasing the guy up the stands. So anyway, we're like, oh shit. So we jump over and go help him. So anyway, stuff gets breaking up. Cops are everywhere. So security guards, we go down to the room. We're like, shit, where's Kersey? We can't find Kersey still. We're like, what the hell's going on? And our coach, Robbie Nichols, was running around, and our trainers, Jose and those guys, were running around. So we're like, we can't find Kersey. Did someone kidnap Kersey? Like, what happened? All of a sudden, there's a bang on the door, and it's the cops. And they're like, you come with us. And we're like, oh, shit, we're getting arrested. So we're still in our equipment. We're like, well, shit, we're getting arrested. We go out, and he goes, escort him to your locker room and don't let him out. He's in the backseat handcuffed. Guys, get me the fuck out of here. Get me. But that was just what we did. Like, it was just, I don't know. It was awesome. It was fun. It was different mentality than what it is right now.
Yeah, different mentality.
I don't know why I got away down 10.
No, that's okay.
Sorry about
now,
that.
Dan and I were talking the other day on the phone because, like, during the week, we always talk about our podcast coming up and the idea. Here's what we were wondering. Back in the old days, I'm talking about like 30s, 40s, or whatever, when guys were not wearing helmets in the NHL.
Yeah.
How did people not get killed? Getting hit with a slap shot in the head?
Yeah, I mean, I took a slap shot in the head, and it you don't really notice it at first. I took a slap shot in the jaw, and it broke it in 3 spots. Oh. And I remember I hit, and I landed on the ice, and I was kind of like, that hurts a little bit. Went to the training room. I kept playing, played a couple more shifts. I'm like, man, I'm starting to get sore. So they looked and they're like, yeah, you got a broken jaw. Oh, okay, well, I'll finish the game and then we'll go take care of it. And I did. But, I know my uncle was, I think, the second last guy. Him and Craig McTavish in Edmonton were the last 2 guys ever to wear helmets. And the way they got hit, the way the sticks were flying, even goalies. Imagine goalie not wearing a helmet when they did. No chance.
Or even when they wore those old...
the plastic.
The Jason mask.
Jason mask, yeah.
Yeah, no, a
lot of people don't realize that mask is that was a goalie mask for hockey, right?
And all it was little stickers on the inside of those little foam pads. That's what sat on their face. And then oh my God. But it was, insane. I think just people were tougher back in the day. People didn't care. I think they just loved the sport so much that they just didn't care.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how nowadays hockey players don't wear, a more full face helmet.
You can't breathe. You can't see in them. They're terrible. Even when my last year I played, we had they mandated the half visors. It sat up on top of my forehead because, 1, I was never used to it, but 2, you get hit with those half visors, your nose gets broken in a heartbeat because it sits right by your nose. So every time you get hit, it would just cut right into your nose and break your nose.
So why not more of like a full cage, like a football helmet?
Why?
Instead of a visor, just to have a caged area.
You do that for kids. You're a big boy. You play big boy sports. I mean, really. I just don't like it. I mean, people wore a full. It was funny because back in the day when guys wore a full cage, you knew he was hurt. You knew something was wrong with him, so you would attack it. You would throw I elbowed you by accident.
As a hockey player, a lot of people associate a lot of hockey players don't have all their real teeth most of the time, right?
Yeah. Knock on wood. I got mine.
So is that just like that never bothered anyone? Like, man, I wish I could just play the sport without having to lose all my teeth.
Hockey players look cool without a tooth because it's a sign of a hockey player. It's kind of like a cage fighter with that cauliflower ear.
Yeah, you knew what you do for a living.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, he brought up a good point. Now, I'm actually on both your guys' side on this one. I think one of the reasons why, if I were to ask, why don't players wear the big whatever, are hockey players now faster and stronger? Are their slap shots harder?
Or? Everything. I mean, guys are faster and stronger. Back when I played, you can't say bigger because back when I played, if you weren't 6 feet, 6'1", you weren't making the NHL. You weren't even getting looked at, and so guys were always bigger. Speed wasn't. It was more of how tough are you? How hard are you going to work? How good of teammate are you? That's what they look for. Now it's speed, skill. I'll tell you what, the speed and skill hands of my son, way better than I ever was. Way better than I ever was. But he didn't have to go through the game that I had to. Because if, again, just like back in the day when Europeans came out and they were faster with better hands, yeah, you just hurt them. And they would quit. They get scared because they don't know how to fight. They didn't like, I'm not doing that.
Now your son plays for the Saginaw Spirit,
right?
Yep. Now, do you guys ever have like some fun competitive discussions at home? Like, oh no, Dad, this team that I'm on this year, we would have pushed your shit in from your team from '98 or whatever. Do you guys ever have like fun competitive stuff like that?
We talked about it. I've always said, like I said, he's better than I was. A lot of those kids are better skaters, but smarter, better hands. They're not smarter. We were smarter hockey players, because you had to learn the game. You had to understand the game mentality. You had to learn what my two wingers were going to do. You get to know them. Whereas these kids, they just fly around. A lot of them are selfish guys that just kind of, the me, I mentality that it's just different. I don't know. He's, like I said, he's way better than I am. He's faster. He's better. So he played our men's league last year, because of COVID, the league OHL shut down because, Canada's Canada. And I'll leave that alone. And it was funny. Like, it was he enjoyed it because he played with like Lauren Knopf from back in the day. He's on our team, on our men's team. So he got to see, how us older guys think the game. Yeah. And he'll be flying past us and we'll catch up to you. Yeah, we'll get you the puck, and it was fun to do that part of it.
Now, I'm gonna add on what you said about being smarter. I've always said, and I've always used Larry Bird as the example here. Not the best athlete ever, okay, but in I'm using basketball as a reference. I don't mean to go on a tangent, Dan. I apologize.
Well, it's because you played tennis. I get it. Sorry.
Hey, man, I threw it out there. I gave it to you on a platter. Now, Larry Bird, okay, like when you talk about the Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant's, LeBron James, whatever, I always mention Larry Bird, okay, because he might not be as athletic as those guys, but in my opinion, in any sport, the most valuable muscle that you can have is the one between your ears, and that's what Larry Bird had. So I just wanted to add on what you said about, being smarter.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, Larry Bird he didn't jump. He couldn't jump like those guys. He couldn't run like those guys, but look at what he did and the championships he brought and everything. A lot of it because, shooting. But with shooting came the mentality of learning where everybody else is going and what everybody else is doing before they even get there.
Yeah. I had another question on
like I remember going to Wayne Gretzky was in L.A. in training camp. And I remember him telling me, he said, when you go to pass a puck, you pass it on 1 or you pass it on 3. And I'm looking, going like, what the what? Huh? Like, I'm dumb. I don't know what the hell that means. Well, then he explained it. You pass it on 1. If you see me, you count to 1. I'm open. If you go to pass it to me on 2, I'm already covered. But by 3, I've already moved somewhere else, and that's where you pass it. It's pretty, like, that's the old mentality. But again, Wayne Gretzky was the best player to ever play the game. So you go like, oh, okay. So I try and teach the kids that when I was coaching my son's team through CompuWare and Bell Tire and everything, and they'd all be like, I don't get it. So you hear them on the ice going 1, and they still pass it on 2.
One of my favorite hockey movies, Youngblood, when I was younger, with Rob Lowe. I love that movie, Youngblood. Wasn't Patrick Swayze in that movie too?
Yep.
What are some other good hockey movies? Was there any other good hockey movies?
You haven't seen Slapshot? That's like sacrilegious if you have not
That's
watched
the one with the guys wearing
the Hanson brothers.
The glasses.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen them at Generals games making, an appearance. I've gotten their autograph. I met them. I haven't seen the movie though.
That's the biggest hockey movie in the world.
Yeah, that's like a hockey movie you have to watch.
You have to watch.
You haven't seen a hockey movie unless you've seen Slapshot.
Just the first one. Don't watch. I think there's like 3 of them or something, but just the first one. Yeah. And actually one of the Hanson brothers, for the life of me, I can't remember his name. He was my coach. He got fired like a month into the season, but he was our coach, and great guys, like unbelievable what they did and what they're still doing with what that movie is and everything. But hockey coach, he wasn't very good. But
okay, Miracle is a decent hockey movie.
But I joke around with the Americans all the time because they always bring up 1980 and Miracle. Oh, I'm like, well, in Canada we'd have to make a movie every 4 years. Right. We'd run out of actors. You guys win once, and all of a sudden this movie goes forever.
What do you think?
But it's a great movie.
Have you seen Goon? Or
Yeah, I did with actually he's Canadian.
Sean William Scott.
He's Canadian, I think.
I think so.
I think he's Canadian. Yeah, yeah. The first one's good.
Yeah,
I didn't like the second one.
No.
Yeah, no.
Now that 1980 U.S. hockey team had a guy, Ken Morrow, on that team who's from your hometown of Davison.
Yep.
A Davison guy on that team. And, Tim Thomas is a Davison guy also.
I've met both those guys at Perani's with Matt Walker. Because I do stuff for the Chris Perani Foundation for minor hockey with Matt and Kevin and Bob Jr. And, they've been out a couple of times. Kenny Morrow's been out a couple of times. And goes back to the history of Flint is we do Ferga golf outing every year. And there's guys, Chitteroni comes out. All those guys come out they all come back to Flint to play. Every year, we haven't done it in 2 years because of all the BS, but all the old guys come back and they all have great stories and everyone has fun. And, all the stories, it's funny because all the stories back from the 60s all the way through to probably the late 90s, 2000s, all the stories are the same, just a different year. And it's great.
Just to hear the name Mario Chit, man, I hope I don't get emotional. I've never been emotional on this show. I might get emotional when I say this, man. I don't give a fuck. I'm secure about my man. Just to hear that name, Mario Chitteroni, man. When I used to go to those games when I was younger, like one of my favorite memories was me and my buddy Dan. We used to, after the games, we used to go in the dumpster and look for broken hockey sticks.
Yeah,
and we used to, clean them, and we kept them as souvenirs, man. It's little things, man.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I loved all those guys, all them Flint Spirits in general. I loved all them guys. Jim Edgerton was another guy that was a friend of my buddy's family, and that's pretty cool that you still talk to some of those guys.
Yeah, you see them all the time. Like I said, unfortunately, some of them are dying off now, but. They all love Flint. They all talk about Flint, that some of their best times in their life were in Flint.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Darren Lowe. Darren Lowe was another guy that played with those Spirits teams.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple weird questions.
Right.
You ready for my questions?
Yep.
Well, the first one isn't a weird one. The second one is a weird one. I don't know if there's a GOAT in hockey. I would imagine Wayne Gretzky or Gordy Howe would be like the first couple that come to mind.
Okay.
Who's the GOAT in the NHL? Is it Gordy Howe, Wayne Gretzky, or someone else? In your opinion?
Different times. I'd tell you what, Gordy Howe was, I remember watching him. I've met him a couple times. Great guy. Unbelievable.
Gordy Howe?
Yeah. He was an unbelievable guy. His elbows, they say, were like cement blocks. And he was the subtlest, dirtiest player. See, and that's back in the day, if you needed space to score goals, you just did a few dirty things that people would be like, I'm not going near them, and you'd have space, and now you have time to score. And so, you look at that and go, okay, that was Gordy Howe, right? He had to do everything.
Yeah.
Then you look at Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if anybody's beating any of his stats. Ovechkin's going to be close. But you look at the one time Wayne Gretzky got hit. He was out, that defenseman from Edmonton, and he got released by Edmonton the next day and never played in the NHL again.
Damn.
So anyway, you look at him and go, I don't think anybody's beating those records. And he was the smartest guy ever. Like,
when it's all said and done, is a guy like maybe Ovechkin or Sidney Crosby going to be in the conversation with those two guys?
No, I don't think so. Just because of the eras of hockey and the way the games are now, where you can't really touch anybody and it's speed and space. And are they amazing players? Absolutely. Absolutely amazing players. But I think at the end of the day, it's either going to be Wayne or Gordy.
Dan, have you ever seen Gordy Howe with, I hate to sound like I used to hang out at the Blue Oyster Bar at Police Academy or anything like that, but have you ever seen Gordy Howe without a shirt on? Like an old photo of him with no shirt on?
I can't say that I have.
You know who Ravishing Rick Rude is, the wrestler?
Yeah.
He was built like Ravishing Rick Rude. So when he just said cement blocks,
They all were back in the day. Like big farm boys.
That neck like a hyena. You know how a hyena, how their neck looks? Yeah. That's what Gordy Howe. Yeah. I wouldn't fuck with Gordy Howe.
No. Big farm boys, that's all they are. And Kosher and Probert and all those guys back in the day. Like my uncle was 6'4". He was called Big Bird because he was just a big, huge man. Dave Schultz. He was one of my coaches in Madison.
Dave Schultz?
Dave the Hammer Schultz was one of my coaches in Madison. I got a funny story for that one.
Oh, go ahead.
So me and Schultz, we were in, he's coaching Madison. I'm playing in Madison. I think I was captain or assistant captain at the time. We go into Quad City, and that was just a hated rivalry. And Quad City had 10,000.
Mallards. Quad City
The Mallards.
Mallards.
They had 10,000 people, and they always had a tough team. And Madison was always known as a softer team. So when Schulte took over, he brought in some more fighters and stuff. So I remember we had a line brawl. One of our guys got hit from behind, and it just started a melee. It carried into our locker rooms. You had to go down one tunnel. The end of the tunnel was their locker room. The first of the tunnel was our locker room. Well, what do you think happened? We met in the middle in the tunnel, and you got all these ushers trying to stop us. It was just turned into a shit show. So the cops separate everybody. Cops throw us in there. They you got 10 minutes. Police escorted me and Schulte onto our bus and made us sit on the bus waiting for the game to end, and we weren't allowed to leave. It was awesome.
On the bus.
So what does Schulte do? He gets his whiskey and Coke out, and he's having a sip, and we watched his fight tape. And I was learning stuff. Like, he was like, hey, see this? Like, try and do it this way. And I love Schulte. He was the best. Dave Schulte was the best. And, he was funny story about Schulte when he was telling us he went to get his motorcycle license in Philadelphia, okay? This is in Philly. He pulls up into a Harley. He said the parking lot's full. So he pulls his Harley onto the sidewalk, hops off, walks in the DMV, and he's like, yeah, I'm here to get my motorcycle license. And the lady looks and goes, you just drove your motorcycle license up here. You can't do that. He looks at her and goes, you know who the fuck I am? Fuck it. I don't need a license. Walked out, got on his Harley, and took off. I love Schulte. It was awesome. It was hilarious. But that's Schulte.
When he said David Schultz, the first person I thought of was Dr. D. David Schultz.
Yeah, the wrestler.
Wrestler slapped a reporter one time. Another fun question, okay? Yep. This is the last fun question I'm going to ask. I want you to tell me, I want two names here, your opinion. Tell me the toughest guy you've ever seen on skates, and who's the toughest guy not on skates. It don't even have to be the second one don't even have to be a hockey player. 2-part question.
The hockey thing's tough because you obviously got, Larry Robinson, you got Dave Schultz, but then you look at Probert and Kosher and Ty Domi. I guess I'll go with Probert on the ice. Off the ice, I don't know. I mean,
maybe
I guess I'm going to say George St. Pierre.
Okay.
If you're doing just Canadians. Now, if you're doing all together, man, I don't know. I think what's that MMA guy that just retired? The guy that knocked out Conor McGregor.
Khabib.
Pound
Good
for
one.
pound.
Okay.
Pound for pound. Throwing it out there.
I can't argue that. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah, not a lot of people would argue with that. No.
I don't know. There's a lot of names, obviously, but that's what I would go with.
Wasn't there a Netflix show you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I'm watching Netflix one day, and I'm watching this documentary series called Untold, right? And one of their documentaries was called Crime and Penalties, right? So I'm watching this documentary, and in the beginning of the show, I'm like, see a couple pictures come up, and I'm like, I have to pause it, and I have to rewind it, and I have to look at it again, and I'm like, wait a second. Like, I know that guy. That's Jim Duhart. Like, I know that's Jim Duhart. So I'm like, going to Google and find out that, like, yeah, Jim Duhart was on the Danbury Trashers. Like, so tell us how that came to be. Tell us about, how your time on the Danbury Trashers and how all that stuff came to be.
Yeah, Robbie Nichols had called me and said, I don't want to trade you, but you're going to go meet the owners of Danbury, go meet Jimmy Galante and his son AJ, and talk to them, and then if things work out, then I'm going to trade you if you want. So I went down and met Jimmy and AJ at the garbage company, and phenomenal people. Had great conversations with them, So myself and Brent Gretzky were the first two that signed in Danbury, and so went there. Like I said, Jimmy, his wife Roxanne, and AJ, great people, smart people. It was definitely Jimmy's team. AJ's very smart, very knowledgeable. Obviously, he's doing great things with the boxing down in New York and Connecticut. So, so I went there, had a great time. Watched the documentary. Yeah, I mean, I lived it, so I kind of understand It's made for TV. And Winger's tough. He's very, very tough. One of the toughest guys I ever saw in our league. One of them. And Roman Nadur, Nigerian Nightmare is what his nickname. And so I mean,
were the games and the crowd like as wild as it's portrayed on the documentary?
Yeah, they were ruthless. It was section 102, I do believe. I think that's what it was called. They were ruthless. They were just ruthless. It was funny. Like I said, I had a good time when I was there. It just I left for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Just certain reasons. But like I said, it's a good documentary. I mean,
yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. It's very, very interesting how
it's entertaining.
The mob involvement with that team and what came to be because of that team and all the inner workings. I won't get into a lot of it because I like my life, so I don't want any mob retaliation on me. But
like I said, they're great people. It is what it is. Life's life,
right?
And they're fine, I'm sure, by the looks of it. And like I said, AJ's doing a great job, and wish him nothing but the best.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us. So after you went to Danbury, you came back to the Generals?
Oh man, yeah, maybe. Well, I went to the Quebec League for a few months. So, speaking of. So come to find out, that league was run by the Hells Angels and the Canadian side. I had no idea. Whatever. That's what I was told. Whatever. So I signed with Tedford, went there. My first home game, we have a kind of a lounge area, and I'm like, we're playing Quebec City. So I go to the game, and I'm, getting my coffee in the lounge, and in walks two of the Quebec City fighters. I'm kind of, this is weird. So walks in a couple of our fighters, and they're talking to each other in Quebec, in French and everything else, and snort a line of Coke, and away they go. They fight and warm up, and it was just whatever. It was just not for me. There was there's a lot of legitimate heavyweights in that league. Let me tell you, they just went. Some of these guys, I don't know how they did it, but anyway, it was So then I went to Flint, and I think I retired after that. I just had so many injuries. I had 5 surgeries on my ankle in 8 months, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Okay.
Old age kept up.
So tell us about, what was your greatest moment on the ice as a hockey player, and then tell us about just kind of how your mindset in making that decision to retire.
The greatest moment, I don't know. I had a lot of great moments. I loved playing in Madison. I loved playing in Flint. The years you scored 50, I scored 50 goals, 56 goals. It was amazing. Some of the fights I had where you knock somebody out, or do something for the team. That's kind of cool. Winning playoffs, winning championships. I don't think I have one that's really set up. Retiring was tough. You just don't want it to end. Like I said, I had so many. I've had 21 surgeries. My body can't take it, but. It was hard. Mentally, it was hard. I see how guys, kind of go in bad places for a while, and it was just, you'd wake up one day going, now what? But I had 2 years of rehab, so it was I had time to think about what I wanted to do, and I had been getting ready to go to the police force when I was playing juniors in Ottawa, so that's where I took off and went back to there. Went to the police side of things.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to say this, man. Dan and I started this show a couple years ago. It's people like you is why we started this show, man. Having guys like you. We can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to come chat with us.
I love it. I love it.
We're just, we're regular, hardworking guys. We don't, we're in our mid-40s. We don't play sports anymore. I had a back operation back in 2008. But I enjoyed doing this, man. I was really, really, really looking forward to today. I can't do a good job of describing what it means to have you here and what you've done for Flint and Ottawa and everywhere that you've been, and the people you touched, and the people that you will continue to impact in Grand Blanc and those great kids you got. And I also want to wish your son that plays for Saginaw, wish him best of luck and health and everything he does, man. And I'll just thank you for coming here.
Thank you. It means a lot. I mean, like I said, Flint's always been great to me. The hockey world's been great to me. Bigger and better things for my son, I hope. Deservingly, he deserves it. But, I still try and give back when I can. Doing stuff for the Chris Bronny Foundation and with Matt Walker, great people that run that. So I try and help out now. Coaching Grand Blanc, trying to get them in the right direction. They got some great kids that want to learn, and just try and keep hockey growing in Flint because it's kind of slowed down a little bit. So I just want to get it going again. So.
And I also want to thank, I had quite a few of my friends that have been, texting me, messaging me and saying, man, I'm looking forward to seeing the show with Duhart on there. So I want to thank a lot of my buddies for the support. That was really nice. You're still a big deal around here. You'll always be a big deal around here.
Well, it means a lot. Like I said, it means a lot with the past people who have been here, and people saying that, they recognize me more than most is kind of special. Means maybe, maybe I was doing the right things. And that's some things I try to tell, my son and some of his teammates or some of the kids is be nice to everybody, respectful, because you never know who you're going to meet and get to know, and you never know. You just never know. So it means a lot, to my wife and I that we're still treated the way we are here in town. And it's great. Appreciate it.
Okay. And Dan, there's a couple people, we have some sponsors and stuff I know you want to acknowledge.
Yeah. We are lucky enough, but we can go ahead and announce it now. We're partnering with a bar that's coming soon. It's still a work in progress. My buddy Ben opening up Benny's Beer Hall in Millington, Michigan. So we're starting a sponsorship partnership with them. Look forward to doing a lot of good things with them. So look for a lot more coming with that.
Yeah, and the next time we have you on the show, whenever you want to come, we'll do a show there. I don't know if you still drink, but if you want to, you want to eat, drink, it's on me that day. Okay, save your appetite.
I don't think I ever stopped.
Well, I don't know. No, some people stop drinking.
No.
We plan on maybe doing a live show when they open up.
That's
so
awesome.
If you're wanting to come join us for the live show that we do there. When they open up, you're more than welcome.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
Whenever you come up there, don't bring any money. Your money's no good in there. I'm going to take care of you when you come, man. Okay?
I appreciate that. You don't have to do that, but I appreciate it. But I love it. I think some of, I did a radio show here when I was in Flint, when I was playing here, and we did it at, where do you think? Rain check. And it was always loud. It was fun. It's just a different because you got people watching, maybe not so close. But it's fun. It's great having that live atmosphere with the people, and I don't know. And I hope that guy does well with his bar.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a good guy.
I've always said that I've always wanted to start a bar back in the day, and just never really did. But
there you go. The old Raycheck is currently vacant.
Yeah, no, that's a marijuana place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it is.
It's called Common Citizen.
Yeah. I mean, where isn't a marijuana place nowadays?
That's true.
Right? I mean, but that's
true.
okay.
But yeah, Benny's Beer Hall coming soon, Millington, Michigan.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it. It's been a great time. I'd love to do it again.
We appreciate having you. Yeah.
Love to get my son on with me, and we can just
absolutely
give him.
Yep. What's his name? You never told us his name.
Dalton Duhart. He's actually wearing 19 in Saginaw.
Okay.
So it's kind of neat. I wore 19 in Saginaw for the month I was there or whatever. I mean, like I said, he's a phenomenal player. He's way better than I was, and hopefully things work out.
I love the name Dalton. Roadhouse is my favorite
Roadhouse.
movie.
It was funny because when my wife was pregnant, we were having that fight, and I was like adamant I had to be Dalton. Like I couldn't
love that name. Yep.
Yeah.
Just did they give him the same? They say his name the same way that they used to say yours back in the day.
The long drawn out
Duhart.
No, I mean I think they've done it a couple of times, but no, for the most part, I was hoping I can trademark it, but it didn't work. But, but it's neat. So I will tell you a funny story though. His first time he was in Flint, he was in the OHL. He was with London, and he was so mad because there was all kinds of Duhart jerseys in the stands, and people were asking for my autograph, and he's standing there going like, "Really? really? What about me? But so I give them crap about that all the time.
Someday.
But,
This is my town, son.
yeah. So we'll see.
Well, hold on. One more thing. I got to give him a little receipt here because he called me a tennis player earlier or something. Since you're so little, how do you carry all that hockey equipment without falling over?
I don't have the bag with the wheels on.
kidding.
I promise.
I believe you.
I can't look. I look at grown men walking in with bags on the wheels, and I'm like, really? He plays tennis. Just kidding. But yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't let my son ever get one of those bags with the wheels on it. I'm like, no, if you're going to play hockey, you're going to carry your own stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
But I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week.